Happy Monday to you. It is Case of the Mondays. Glad you could join us. We are here once again. Off last week, had a little vacation time. This next week, I'll be on vacation again, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different on the road for you next week. So we will still have a Case of the Mondays going on next week. We'll see how that works out. But tonight, we are here. We are gathered together. We are pumped because, as usual, every week we bring you the Sydney approved jokes, hot off the presses, still smells warm. We have those for you tonight. We also have a feel-good story that is really, really cool. It was something very unique, something very different, and I wanted to read that story to you guys tonight. Then also we are starting to bring our Bible study, our Acts study, to our Case of the Mondays to make it a little bit more, have a little bit more depth to our night, to bring a little bit more positive energy to you folks out there. And I am glad we are back together. I've missed doing this. This is kind of fun. But we have our Sydney approved jokes, we have our feel-good story, we have our Acts study, and then next week we'll have a little bit more fun stuff with you for you next week as well. It's going to be a great couple weeks. Also, just want to make sure that you are connected into Sunday mornings. If you are not coming to services, that you are connected into our Sunday morning services. They are live fed. They are going, you're watching it right along with us and during the worship and all that good stuff. So make sure you tag into that. And then also on Friday nights, we have our Friday Nights with Jordan. Our youth minister has a lesson that is for the youth, and he does some different things with that as well. So make sure you want to connect and get into those, as well as we have different Bible studies going on live in front of you. We have our HBH group that meets on Wednesday mornings. We have our Tuesday night ladies Bible study. Fight Club for the guys is meeting tonight for the first time since COVID started. So we have a lot of different things that are happening. Be in prayer for us and the elders as we discuss, we're starting to look at some opportunities and possibilities to start working in Sunday school and different opportunities for more things happening as we're getting along. So just pray for that we just have God's wisdom in that, so we're not just jumping the gun. I know it's been a long, long time, but still those numbers are kind of still, you never know. Enough on the downer stuff. Let's get to the fun stuff. That's why we're here. Case of the Mondays. Good stuff coming at you right now. We have our Sydney approved jokes. These are Halloween jokes, so I wanted to make sure that you got those ahead of time. So when Halloween approaches, you can give those to the little kids as they're coming. You don't have to give them candy. Just give them these jokes. They're so much more worth. But I can't be held accountable for any toilet paper, soaping, or spoons in your yard if you decide to do that. But these are pretty good jokes. Sweet as candy. Here we go. We got our City Approved jokes, Halloween style. Here we go. Number one. Where does a ghost go on vacation? Where does a ghost go on vacation? He goes to Malibu. That's the jokes you're going to get. These are awesome. Okay. What is in a ghost nose? Now, I didn't know that a ghost had a nose. I guess Casper had a little bit of one. Didn't really know they had a nose, but what's inside their nose? Boogers. Boogers. All right. What does a panda ghost eat? A panda ghost. What does a panda ghost eat? Bamboo. Bamboo. There we go. There's a few for you. Okay, why don't mummies take time off? Why don't mummies, not mommies, but mummies take time off? They're afraid to unwind. They're afraid to unwind. There we go. Why did the Headless Horseman go into business? He wanted to get ahead in life. He wanted to get ahead in life. Yes, he did. What do you get when you cross a vampire and a snowman? Well, you get frostbite. You get frostbite. Do you know why skeletons are so calm? Because nothing gets under their skin. Nothing gets... We'll try it again. Nothing gets under their... It came right back. Nothing gets under their skin. There, it went away. There we go. And last one. Last one for your Cindy approved jokes for tonight. What is a witch's favorite makeup? Mascara. Mascara. That is your Cindy approved jokes for tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Now, next. Oh, I love this one. This is one of my favorite stories that we've done during this whole time. I'll see if I can get through it without getting emotional, because it is just a blessing of a story. And it kills me that we don't hear this stuff every day. This is awesome. So here we go. When 72-year-old Randy Long was cleaning out his garage not too long ago, he came across some practice baseballs he used to toss around with his son and grandson. Thinking a new generation of kids might get some use out of them, the Montgomery, Alabama senior took them to a local batting cage where he left them along with a sentimental note that might just even bring the manliest of men to tears. Hope, this is the note that was left on the bucket of balls. Hope someone can use some of these baseballs in the batting cages. I found them cleaning my garage. I pitched them to my son and my grandson for countless rounds. My son is now 46 years old and my grandson is 23 years old. I am 72 and what I won't give to pitch a couple of buckets to them. They both moved away. If you are a father, cherish these times. You won't believe how quickly they will be gone. God bless. And he has a P.S. Give them a hug and tell them you love them every chance you get. Touched, Long's grandson, Ethan Anderson, tweeted about his grandpa's generous gesture. He never expected the post to go viral. The impact of the story finally hit home when the family was contacted by the news outlets. But Anderson says while his grandfather is amazed by all the attention he's getting, he really doesn't have much use for social media. That's probably a good deal. He is still not completely sure what Twitter is. Anderson joked to ESPN, they're on your side. He even calls hashtags hash browns. That's a good joke for Sydney approved jokes. So, and I'll have a picture of that bucket of balls in the note here. But Anderson may be grown up, but he finally remembers his grandpa as a thoughtful coach who helped him achieve his true athletic potential. When I was a kid, we would usually go out a few times a week and hit in the cages, he recalled. Many times I didn't even want to go, but he always wanted me to be the best player I could be. After the ESPN story broke, Anderson was nearly swept away by the wave of positive feedback. I have had a lot of kids younger than me telling me that they'll cherish the times they have had in the cages with their dads or granddads, he told CNN. They're not on your side. Well, they might be on your side. I don't know. We'll see. How they won't take it for granted anymore. Seems Anderson didn't want to take things for granted anymore either. I get to go back and visit every now and then, he said. I just didn't realize that they missed hitting in the cages. Although since he moved back to Birmingham, about a 2-hour drive from Long, Anderson has decided to take time back up with his grandpa and for a long overdue batting cage come back on a more regular basis. Love is the most important thing in the world, legendary New York Yankee catcher Yogi Berra once said, but baseball is pretty good too. I don't disagree. We can't argue with that call. And there's a picture that you'll see up here of him and his grandson. Awesome story. Just where this, he wanted to touch people and this thing went viral because of the impact that he made to many people just by putting a bucket of balls out there for grandpas to throw with their kids. Awesome story. All right, we are going to be now in the book of Acts. We're going to, if you've not been with us before at our Wednesday night study, we are going through different trials and circumstances that the early church was going through and talking about what what they did, and then the outcomes of those different trials and tribulations that they were going through. I just thought during these times that we are going through right now, just when we were going in quarantine, and now that we are on different mandates and different things are going on all over the world, whether it's hurricanes, forest fires, riots, we have a whole slew of things to be concerned about. But here in the book of Acts, the early believers went through a lot of troubles too. And what I want to do is expose those scriptures so that we can see they went through it and look what happened to the church. So in Acts 18, verses 6 and 8, we're going to start there. And that's the verse we're going to kind of tile into tonight. And so here, Paul is in Corinth, and he's been talking to the people in the synagogues. That's what Paul normally did whenever he would have somebody with him. They would go to the synagogues, and they would teach and preach Jesus. And so Paul was doing this in Corinth. Now, we got to remember, Corinth is a very Greek, very modern city of this time. And Corinth had a lot of pagan rituals, and the pagan churches were very prominent as well in Corinth. And so, but here he was in the synagogues in Corinth, and they went against Paul. And this is what happened. But when they opposed him and blasphemed, he shook his garments and said to them, "Your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From now on I will go to the Gentiles." And he departed from there, and then he entered the house of a certain man named Justus, one who worshiped God, whose house was next door to the synagogue. Then Crispus, the ruler of the synagogue, believed on the Lord with all of his household, and many of the Corinthians, hearing and believed, were baptized. Okay, so what was happening again was they're going into the synagogues and they're teaching and preaching, and some people aren't liking it, especially the leaders and such. But in this instance, when Paul finally had enough, when they were blaspheming, and the blasphemy that was taking place here was obviously it was more blaspheming against Christ, against Jesus. And so he shook the dust off of him. When they opposed him and blasphemed, this was against Jesus, of course, and that Jesus was the Messiah. And this now, he said, "I'm done with you. I am done." He didn't want a speck of dust of the synagogue to go with him as he left. He shook and it was it was more of a ritual thing. When you had enough of somebody at this time in the world, or enough of a group of people, you shook your garments and you walked away. You left them in the dust. And so that's what Paul's doing here, and probably making a scene. Just knowing Paul and what we've read about Paul and knowing Paul, he's probably making a ruckus when he's doing so. So he leaves with this, and he goes next door to this Justus. And while he's there, and he's going to be teaching at Justus's house, and while he's there, Crispus, who is the ruler of the synagogue, comes next door, comes to Justus's house, and believes. His whole household. Matter of fact, we see in Corinthians, the book of Corinthians, Paul talks about Crispus and another, that he's glad that he only baptized a few of them because he wanted other people to be doing the job of that. But he mentions his Crispus in Corinthians as he talks about his baptism, and then he baptizes his family as well. We don't know necessarily if Paul baptized the entire family. A lot of times what would happen, especially when there's great groups, more people would help out and do those types of things and help in that baptism part. So he shook his garments, and Crispus comes, and this shows that Paul treated the Jews of Corinth still with love and grace and mercy, even though he was like done with them. I'm going to go work with the Gentiles. I'm done with you guys. You're not listening very well. And then the leader of the synagogue comes and believes and is baptized. Amazing. And then it says that many of the Corinthians, hearing believed and were baptized. And we see even this connection in 1 Corinthians 1:26, where we see that connection. So we see where the book of Acts is a historical book, is meeting up with the Corinthians letters, and how we can see the parallels that are taking place in those verses. And where we see Crispus in the book of Corinthians being baptized, where Paul speaks of that, is in 1 Corinthians 1:14, where he speaks of him. What he says there in 1 Corinthians, he says, "I thank God that I baptized none of you but Crispus and Gaius." And it wasn't that, and when he says that in Corinthians, it wasn't that he wasn't loving of those people. He was just glad that other people were doing ministry in that area. So we have this big influence taking place. So Paul was refused. The people were blaspheming. The people were against Jesus and not liking what was happening in Corinth, in the synagogues even. And so Paul leaves in a big stately way, but still within that, he still has his heart opened, where when Crispus comes and wants to accept Jesus, he does. And then here we have the Corinthians, not just the people in the synagogue, but the Corinthians, the Greeks, the pagans coming to hear about Jesus, and many people believed and were coming to Jesus. Now, what was great about this is now, then we see in verses 9, and it says, "Now the Lord spoke." So right after this take place, "Now the Lord spoke to Paul in the night by a vision. Do not be afraid to speak, and do not keep silent, for I am with you. And no one will attack you or hurt you, for I have many people in this city." And he continued there 1 year and 6 months, teaching the word of God among them. So even though Paul still had, we had other instances where Paul had opposition and he had to get out of town. Here, God sent him a note and said, "Don't you worry, I am with you." And Paul stayed there another 1 year and 6 months, preaching and teaching to those people in Corinth. And what we know in the church at Corinth was a large church, and we have a lot, the 1st and 2nd Corinthians, what we have in our New Testament is powerful stuff for us as believers to live by. So we have this again, where Paul and the early church, as they go out to evangelize, run into a roadblock here in Corinth, but still stick to their preaching. Paul just goes to the next door, starts preaching the word, and the leader, the ruler, the person who oversees the synagogue is now a believer because Paul did not give up. And that's where we need to look at in our lives. Whether we're the grandpa down in Alabama, he didn't want to give up on the love that he had for baseball, and now him and his grandson are going back together and pitching balls again. Whether it's Paul here in Corinth, where he had opposition, but yet he works through it, does what he knows is important, and God blesses it, and God tells him in a vision, keep going. I'm here with you. As we go through all these different things in our lives, and whatever it might be, whether it might be dealing with this sickness, might be dealing with nature issues, whatever it might be, that we need to remember that God is God, and He watches over us. And if we continue to do His will, He will bless us. He is always there with us. He will never leave us nor forsake us. Folks, I hope you've had a wonderful, wonderful weekend of worship, and I hope you will have a great and wonderful week. I hope that all things will come together for those who love Him, and folks, I hope that you honor God in the way that you live. Don't forget, our new series is I Love My Church. Make sure that you are connected on the Sunday mornings, whether in person or online. That you're connected with that. If you are doing it online, we are putting together a t-shirt that says I Love My Church. If you would like to order one of those shirts, make sure that you text me or email me or get a hold of me so I can get you down on the list, so we can make sure that everybody who wants a I Love My Church t-shirt will do so, because we plan to do some service projects in the future, and we want to make sure that people recognize who we are when we are out. All right, folks, this is about my time's about up. I hope you all are doing well. Can't wait to see you. God bless you all. Take care of yourself. Bye.